Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh dan salam satu Malaysia. Walaupun mengasah satu Malaysia tu dah masuk ke dalam, tapi kita nak embrace satu Malaysia tu sebab the current government belum ada kelaguan Malaysia ke One Malaysia ke apa ke
dia
apa.
Dia tak ada tagline lagi.
Kita pakai satu Malaysia dulu lah. Jadi saya harap semua orang yang semua listener and viewers of Cerita Abang Adik dalam keadaan sihat walafiat dan sentiasa ingin mencari information melalui Cerita Abang Adik sebab kita akan sedaya upaya berusaha untuk mendapatkan orang kata kira-kira yang lain daripada yang lain lah.
Itu that's the main objective lah kan.
And untuk secara orang kata apa?
Apa dia? Tak, di kesempatan ini kami juga ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada penyokong-penyokong kami, especially ampun semua yang duk follow Cerita Abang Adik saban hari, saban minggu, follow dekat YouTube, follow dekat Spotify, follow kami dekat social media. Kami sangat-sangat terharulah dengan sambutan yang diberikan.
Dan yang paling istimewanya, ucapan istimewa kepada Nurul Muhammad Helmi ataupun Nangka yang telah menjadi patron dalam kita punya Patreon.
So dan juga episod hari ni dia sponsor lah?
Dia bukan episod ni, ada semua episod dia sponsor.
Okay. Terima kasih.
Dan juga Intan Sofia Fadila lah.
Minggu
waktu ni dia jadi
dah jadi. Okay. Alhamdulillah.
So kepada anda semua yang ingin menyokong Cerita Abang Adik, boleh klik link di bawah. Kita punya link Patreon tu, dia punya rate. Kita ada buat 2 tier, which is Abang and Adik. Untuk Abang USD $3 sebulan, and then untuk Adik USD 1.5 sebulan. Memang tak signifikan pun untuk pekerja-pekerja M40 dan juga T20 di Klang Valley ni.
Tapi sangat bermakna buat kami. Itu patah dah kerusi. So ada ni Nangka dengan Intan boleh beli kerusi baru. Lupa pasal button kat situ. Okay, saya juga saya ingatkan kepada penonton-penonton dan juga pendengar-pendengar semua, jangan lupa follow kami sebab rata-rata yang menonton kita punya show ni dia tak follow.
Sama juga dengan YouTube. Hampa just tekan je butang subscribe tu.
Tekan butang subscribe, click the bell button, click the like button. It helps us a lot.
Dalam
thank you very much.
Segala jenis algoritma lah. So sebelum kita introduce kita punya guest pada minggu ni, kita tengok iklan dulu. Kepada pendengar-pendengar dan penonton-penonton Cerita Abang Adik Show, jangan lupa untuk membeli cawan Abang Adik Show. Cawan ini dibuat khas daripada negara China. Jadi, jangan lupa untuk membeli. Sila tekan klik link di bawah untuk mendapatkan cawan Abang Adik Show. Kembali lagi kita dalam Cerita Abang Adik. Okay, guest kita pada minggu ni apa dia punya career Long?
Guest kita pada minggu ini, dia ni sangat-sangat bagi Elon dia sangat special lah sebab dia ni seorang
kira dah ada 7 episod 8 episod ni.
Semua
special lah.
Tak, yang ni dia special sebab dia tak duduk atas darat. Dia duduk dalam air.
So macam mana dia mendapat? Blub.
Tu kita nak kena tanya dia. So untuk pada minggu ni kami bawakan kepada anda semua seorang certified scuba diving instructor ataupun dalam bahasa Melayunya
certified juruselam.
Apa ni? Tak tahulah. Nanti kami fikir tajuk tu. Tu lah. So he's a dear friend of mine. We work together in the same company previously. Tapi dia mengubah arah untuk menjadi atau menceburi bidang sebagai seorang diving instructor. Dah berapa tahun dah dia ni? Kita kena tanya dia.
Boleh. Jadi dengan itu kita invite sama-sama pada episod kali ini Saudara Anas. Welcome to the show, Anas.
Hi, thanks everyone. Right.
Okay, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
How are you
Something
feeling?
new.
How are you feeling?
So this is my first podcast show.
Oh.
Never been on a podcast show.
Salah
betul.
So thanks guys for inviting me onto the show. So,
glad to have you here.
Right.
So Chena, how have you been so far? Like I think the last I spoke to you two years ago.
How's life under the sea though?
Life under the sea is good, right? I think life under the sea, it's hard to describe unless you actually experience it for yourself.
True.
But it's kind of expensive though, like if you want to venture, because before you ever get to dive deep down, you have to go to the classes, right? And then the class tu pun dah you need to spend quite a lot of money for that class, right?
Yep.
Lepas tu for every trip you have to spend some kind of money as well, right?
Yep.
So macam mana?
So the good news is that a lot of people compare prices, and in our region, you go to Thailand, you go to Indonesia and everything. The good news is that you guys are still in one of the cheapest region for scuba diving in the world, right? So in Malaysia, if you can get courses for very reasonable prices, right? Of course, some people compare it to certain parts of Thailand, like Koh Tao, right? It's called the diving mecca of the world.
Koh Tao is in the Andaman Sea or it's in the South China Sea or the Vietnamese Bay or something?
No, they're not in the Vietnamese Bay. Koh Tao, if I'm not mistaken, it should be on the Andaman Sea.
Andaman Sea.
Yeah.
Andaman Sea tahu mana?
I only know Koh.
On the
Oh,
west.
it's near Koh Lipe, right? That's Tarutao.
No. That's Tarutao.
Yeah,
Oh.
Tarutao is their national park.
Yeah. So personally, I've never been to Koh Tao. So,
okay.
Koh Tao is known to be the diving mecca of the world. They actually produce like I think millions of certification a year actually.
What about
What about
the best spots in Malaysia?
We have Sipadan, and I actually have only been to Sipadan once in my life, right? And I actually went to Sipadan, I think, just before the MCO started, and that's late when you compare to those who used to visit Sipadan 20-30 years ago, right?
I see.
And even then, when I went to Sipadan, I've dived other places in the world as well. I can tell you that it's a world-class dive site in Sipadan.
So how do you classify a world-class dive site?
So you
do they have ESG there?
no, they don't have it.
Do they comply to ESG?
I hope they do. But when you talk about world-class dive sites, I mean, number one is you want to know what's the attraction there, right? You want to know how's the sea life there, right? The abundance of sea life, what you can see, what you can discover down there. And then, of course, certain dive sites, you talk about visibility, all right? Visibility of the dive site. Some dive sites, not necessarily bad dive sites, right? It depends on what type of diving you're doing. So if you go for macro type of diving where you actually are looking for small, interesting stuff,
Okay.
all right? Then usually it's murky waters, all right? It's called muck diving. So you get a different type of sea life down there, all right? But they can also be world renowned as well. You have places in Indonesia that are known for muck diving
and classified as world class.
Classified as world class.
I have to stop you there kejap because I personally have not tried scuba diving, and so
I have never tried as well, but
I did snorkeling.
Snorkeling
Okay,
multiple
okay.
times.
So when I did snorkeling kan, so when you go into the sea, I mean it's like tak dalam mula kan.
You don't know what to see, right?
So macam
what to appreciate.
Apa yang kita nak appreciate kan. So it boils down, like for me, I think it boils down to whether you know how to appreciate the coral life and everything under the sea lah kan.
Yep.
So how do you then differentiate the experience of a certified snorkeling expert like me against like people like you yang go for deep scuba diving?
Well, you can see different things. I mean, don't get me wrong. Snorkeling in itself, right, is actually it's a activity that actually a lot of people take up. So I have friends who actually prefer snorkeling compared to scuba diving, even on both. But the limitation of snorkeling is that you limit yourself only to what your eyes can see from the surface, right?
Okay.
Where else, scuba diving, a lot of times you actually get up and close with the sea life that you're actually looking at the bottom. Right? And then
that must be a trippy ride, bro.
Yeah, it is. Right, it is. Right. You know, a lot of times when you scuba dive, you're gonna get sea life swimming past by you. You know, you might be able to get really up and close. Of course, the golden rule is you never touch sea life underwater, right? But coming close enough to, like, you know, a fish as big as you. It's a thrilling experience, bro.
So how did you start though? Like, I mean, like, is it immediately after uni or immediately after school, or how did you nurture the interest?
Alright, so I've always so my family, my siblings, we are all swimmers, right? So we are trained swimmers since we were young, and then I think sometime when I was in early of my high school, I actually went to try out scuba diving. So at that time, I was only certified as a junior open water diver. Right, so they have different level. If you are below, I think 15 or 14, you are actually considered a junior open water diver. So so there's limits to all the different types of certification. But when it really grew was actually during uni. So in my last year of university, I actually started to really get into scuba diving. So it started off, my younger brothers were actually doing it just to get a certification so that they can put it on their resume. You know that, I know this is the outdoor activities that I do.
But this is a certificate for you to dive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the instructor part.
No, not
right?
the instructor yet. So
Okay.
so I then during university I started to get really into scuba diving, and I built a passion for it that I used to take the bus. So last time the bus used to Perhentian used to take from PWTC.
Putra.
That was
Putra.
yeah. I think they didn't have TBS yet at that time. So I used to take the bus at 9 p.m. from Kuala Lumpur. All right, arrive at the jetty at 6 a.m. I'll take the first boat out at 7. Get to the island. Usually by the time I get to the island, it'll be around 8. You drop all your bags just straight away at the dive shop. Just assemble your gear, and then you're out for diving ready after that. So I used to do that, and then I used to come back on Sunday. All right, Sunday night, I'll arrive early Monday morning. Just basically take a 1 or 2 hour nap.
That's your typical weekend,
That's
lah.
my
Right
typical
then.
change, and then I'll go off for class the next day on Monday.
So when you go to, because you go on the weekends, right? You must want you of course you want to utilize the time that you have there. Like how many times do you like dive like in a day?
So usually if it's a full day, it's most of the time you do 3 dives a day.
Okay.
Right?
3 dives means that you go in, you go up, and then you go in again.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
Okay.
3 times. Yeah. So you can do up to 4 dives a day if you include the night dive as well. But the thing about scuba diving is, numbers of dives does not really matter actually.
It's
right?
what you see inside, right?
Because that actually doesn't guarantee, and nothing is guaranteed when you go down that you're gonna see something interesting. There are dives that you're just swimming around, wondering what the hell. but I mean, the thing about scuba diving is that when you go down, you want to make sure that you enjoy yourself, right? If you're too tired, if doing 3 dives is too tiring for you, when you go down, you're actually over exaggerating yourself, and you're just gonna be tired, and you're not gonna enjoy. And when you don't enjoy and you're tired, you actually put yourself at risk.
Yep.
So you want to make sure that everyone knows what's their limitations when it comes to scuba diving. Yeah.
How did you decide to? I mean, how did you decide to be
scuba diving?
Scuba diving
Yeah.
instructor.
So like you go every week, and then you see whatever it is inside the sea.
Do you think that you can be a better instructor, or it's just
What
it's just for the resume?
So, why I went into scuba diving actually is I was actually combining my 2 passions. So I actually enjoyed teaching. So I used to tutor in my uni days. I used to tutor high school students for accounting and so on. And when I was in college, I did the same as well. So I enjoyed teaching. And then, I enjoyed scuba diving, and I was like, and I had a lot of friends at the time who were scuba diving instructors. You always see them and you go like, oh, do you think it's going to be quite cool? Like, the scuba diver instructor life looks so cool. Like, you get to wear beach shorts every day. And
Carefree.
Carefree. Like, everyone's just sitting and chilling at the beach. But that's what you think, right? But so that was what made me decide, you know what? I felt that it's something that I will enjoy, so I went to pursue to become a certified scuba diving instructor.
Yeah, so once you have become a scuba diving instructor, how do you feel? Because we had a guest previously, kan? So our guest ni, he's a journalist. So he works with one of the papers in Malaysia. So when we asked him like, why do you want to be a journalist? Then he said like, oh, actually, when I was in school, I wanted to be a teacher because I see teachers. That's the only thing that I know. I thought that that's it. And then he said like, whatever that I see, because he went on to be like a intern in the teaching industry. So he said like whatever that we saw the teachers do is only like 20%. The rest of the 80% is not really like interesting.
So did it change your perspective after becoming?
Yeah, definitely. All right. So you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, on social media where there's always that you call it a meme or something like. You have like what my parents think I do, what my friends think I do, and what I actually do. Right. Yeah. So that's exactly the same for scuba diving as well, right? So everyone thinks it's the same thing. When I saw my friends becoming scuba diving instructor, you see them like always happy, always like, talking, like all friendly and everything, right? It's always chilling at the beach and so on. And then, so that's the image that people think they have, right? So people always think that scuba diving instructors are carefree, sitting at the beach,
chill vibes only,
like like what the like that surfer dude image that you think.
I don't think so though, because when I hear about a scuba instructor or scuba diver in this context, I can only think of people in a full suit, black, with 15 kilogram things carried on their backs. But speaking of scuba diving instructor, I think most of the lessons that you deliver to your students is mainly about safety, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So it's not about how to swim or how to what. It's purely on safety, right?
It's not purely on safety. So I mean, there are certain skills in scuba diving that we teach to students, right? A lot of people think that you just gear up and then you go down,
just breathe,
and then you breathe, right? Even breathing has a certain technique to it, actually, right? Because how you breathe underwater can determine, your air consumption. If you're not breathing right, you're actually making yourself more tired. Because imagine just breathing, right? Exactly. So there's a lot of things. So you have things like buoyancy that you have to learn. Meaning like how do you find what we call in scuba diving neutral buoyancy, where you are actually not sinking, neither are you actually floating up to the surface.
How do you do that? Because now,
how do you float?
Until today, bro.
I mean, it's not a float, right? It's not floating, right? Because you're in the.
Even until today, I can't make myself float. My feet would always go down. They say like, I've read a few things on the internet. Then they say like, oh, you need to make yourself clear. You don't. The first thing is that don't feel anxious, because the moment you feel anxious, your body drop.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, I'm here in a swimming pool. No pressure.
I mean, if floating is, if I need to float, I just straighten up my back and make sure my.
No, if you sort of like try to force it, then my feet will always go down, bro. Like
that's on the surface lah. You guys are comparing on the surface. Underwater is like a whole different thing. Like on the surface is basically you just need to relax, right? And then it's all in your breathing, right? When it's either you are controlling your breathing, where you're actually not you're actually just floating on the surface. Or another way is actually to just kick yourself to maintain yourself afloat. So that's the same thing in scuba diving. At the surface, that's what you do, right? That's how you maintain it. But the additional part to it is that we actually have equipments that actually can assist us, right? So the jacket that you're mentioning, that's called a BCD, right? A buoyancy control device, right?
Okay.
So that's where when you actually get to the surface, you actually feel you
lighter.
No, you don't feel lighter. You actually fill up air into the jacket that actually keeps you afloat.
Oh, you fill up air into the jacket. Okay.
So there's a mechanism where you actually can fill in air into the buoyancy control device.
Okay.
And then you maintain yourself afloat at the surface. All right. It's the same concept underwater. How you actually compensate your weight and so on is through finding that optimum amount of air in your BCD that keeps you afloat just nice in mid water. All right, where you are not sinking, neither are you actually floating up. Yeah.
I see. Have you had an experience diving with special forces,
no.
army, or
I have not actually.
Or
I've
any
seen
contractor like the people that go do welding.
I've not done it. I've not personally. I've not gone with my friends, but I do have friends who are actually in that industry as well, who are also instructors as well.
Like so mainly your clients ranging from basically free divers lah.
Yeah.
I think the clients that the clientele of Anas is mostly the Instagram.
No. So there's a few different types of scuba diving, but the more common ones that you will hear is commercial scuba diving. So that's what you guys are actually referring to. Commercial scuba divings are those that are probably in the oil and gas industry or in the shipping industry. Where they go down, they actually do commercial work. They are actually either fixing pipes underwater, or they can be as simple as cleaning ships, bows, and so on. Myself, what we call instructors like me is we call us recreational scuba diving instructors.
I see.
So it's just for recreation. It's just for fun, yeah.
Not for some Black Ops, Black Ops mission or covert mission.
So then on top of that, you have another one we call free diving. Free diving also is actually a form of diving, where it's actually breath holding, right? Where they actually go down without any gears, any scuba diving gears, and they go actually go and explore underwater.
Yeah, when I do snorkeling though, I think I also do free diving because I'll go down.
No, you don't do free diving when you use the jacket.
I don't use jacket when I'm snorkeling because when we wear a life jacket, it limits my it's not
the surface that you will just be on the space. The depth is quite limited.
So but I always go out whenever I feel the pressure in my ear.
Oh, okay. No, I just wear the jacket.
So but I mean, going back to your question, so there is a lot of so of course, number one, scuba diving, we emphasize a lot on safety. All right, I think that's everyone should be taking care of their own safety. All right, so it's we train people to be safe underwater, on top of whatever skills that it's part of what the scuba diving body. All right, you have different scuba diving bodies. They have designed the syllabus for each different level of scuba diving. So at the most basic one, we teach them certain basic skills, and as well as emphasizing a lot on safety lah. Yeah.
So yours is PADI, is it?
Yes, mine is PADI.
What is PADI actually?
So PADI stands
Professional Association of Divers International.
No, close, very close. So PADI is actually known as it actually stands for Professional Association of Diving Instructors. Actually.
Oh. Yeah. I went to a PADI concert last week.
That's a whole different PADI, bro.
No, because I tried my best, to find or understand what is, because I think PADI, whenever you go to any island in Malaysia, it's always PADI lah.
I think
you would see like PADI here, PADI there.
Yep.
Then I'm like, what is PADI actually like for you in Malaysia, you wanna dive? You have to get a certificate from PADI, is it?
No,
not necessarily.
Not necessarily. You have to get a scuba diving certificate, but it doesn't necessarily have to be from PADI. So that's this might be straying a bit off topic, but that's all about branding, right? Now, when it's the same thing, like when you use a browser, right? You want to search something now. People don't say, "Oh, go and look it up on the internet." People say, "Google it," right?
Yeah.
But actually, you can use other browsers to actually search for things. But the term
Microsoft Edge.
Yeah, Correct. Exactly. You can use some Age of Firefox.
Maybe to put into your both of you the context that you guys practiced before. Padi is like MFRS. And the other thing is like I don't know, Indian financial reporting system. Or something.
So yeah.
To all listeners, so Anas is actually an accountant by profession. Yeah. So we worked together previously, but now he's basically a scuba diver / enterprise risk manager.
I'm a risk manager.
Oh, okay, risk manager.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So what else other than Padi?
So other than Padi, you have a lot of different bodies. So the next common one that you will hear is SSI.
No, I haven't heard about SSI.
So SSI is also another body. I think over the last couple of years, SSI has been around for a long time. But SSI has been gaining a lot of traction in Malaysia over the last couple of years. Now, again, this is coming from a more professional body angle. As a scuba diving instructor. Just like everything else in life, the bigger the brand, the more expensive it is.
So like ACCA and CPA.
Yeah. So it's like you're right. So we know who's charging the bigger fees, right? So it's the same concept, right? So you have PADI, you have SSI, you have SDI, a few other bodies as well. So everyone, picks their preference. All right. I think in terms of quality wise, whether you're a PADI instructor, whether you're a SSI instructor, based on my knowledge, the syllabus are actually very closely, it's almost replication of each other as well.
I see.
It's the same thing that you're emphasizing. You're emphasizing on safety, you're emphasizing on certain basic skills.
So how do you become, what are the requirements for you to be a scuba diving instructor?
And may I add, let's say if I want to, go for a scuba diving without any certificate previously, so how soon can I dive? So let's say if I registered to a PADI, I registered to you, right?
All right.
As my instructor.
All right.
So how soon can you release me?
How fast can I release you? That's up to my. It depends on my assessment. But so the PADI does not set or not necessarily PADI, but a diving certificate will never set a specific amount of duration for a student to be certified. Yeah, it actually depends a lot on the instructor's assessment of how ready you are to be actually.
That's why it's very important to
get the right instructor.
Yeah.
So I can share that in the past I have actually I had students who I did not pass. I did not certify. I decided not to certify them because I didn't feel that they were fit, or they might not be fit for scuba diving. All right, or they might not be ready to be certified yet. They require longer classes. So usually when in Malaysia, the most common way to be certified is to find a scuba diving instructor. It can be a scuba diving instructor who's freelancing, or it can be another scuba diving instructor who's actually attached to a dive center. All right, and you basically do the theory part. All right, where you actually watch a few videos and so on, and then you do a confined water, where confined water is defined as a pool-like environment where it's easily controllable for the instructor towards the students, right?
If anything happens,
And then you have the open water section as well, where you actually go and experience open water. So from start to end, that in Malaysia, the more common duration, the typical package that you will find will take about 4 days, 3 nights.
4 days, 3 nights.
Okay.
All right. Now, bear in mind that a lot of people will say that you can get it done in 4 days, 3 nights. My suggestion is you really need to assess your comfort in the water first, right? So if you're someone who is not comfortable in the water, all right, and then you need to consider what are the activities that you're going to be doing. All right.
So like you said just now, you have the confined space and also the open water area. What's the ratio of the hours that they spend? Like, for example, if you were to spend 2 hours in confined water, then maybe 1 hour in open water or
no. So we go based on dives.
Okay.
All right. So I think if I in for confined water, you have 4. I can't remember for sure. 4 or 5 modules. Right. So it's it can be 4 or 5 dives. All right, that's usually done either in very shallow water pool. All right, or it can be in a very shallow water area in the sea.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
And then for open water, all right, you have 4 open water dives.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first step. All right.
Uh-huh.
If still going to your question in terms of what's the journey to become a scuba diving instructor, so that's the first journey, right? The first journey is to become an open water diver first.
Certified open water diver.
Certified open water diver. So the next step from there is the next certification, which is called an advanced open water diver.
What's the difference?
All right. So an advanced open water diver, you actually go out and experience some specialty diving or specialized diving. Right.
Specialized in the sense that there is like stress being put under the
No,
water.
no,
Oh,
no,
do you put do you put a module where where you just some sort of
What, stress test?
no, it's not stress test, but you just give a barrel of oxygen that's basically empty to your
No,
students so
we
that
don't.
you see how the student reacts.
No, we don't. I personally, I think those type of jokes are
Sensitive.
It's very sensitive.
Yeah.
All right. I don't enjoy those type of jokes.
Yeah.
Among instructors, we do it all the time with each other. All right. But
okay.
I don't. I don't know anyone.
You don't encourage.
I don't encourage
those kind of things
I
to
don't
public. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, so going back to the next certification, this next certification is actually, to put it in better words, it's actually adventure diving, lah. Right? You are actually exploring different types of diving. So you have the open water course, which is the start, and then you have the adventure diving. Adventure diving, you do things like night diving. All right?
Okay.
You do wreck diving.
Okay.
And then you have deep dive, which is actually under PADI syllabus, is actually one of the mandatory diving.
How deep?
How deep is deep? Yeah.
So deep dive is defined by anything which is more than 18 meters, if I'm not mistaken.
18 meters ah.
18.
Dah gelap kan tu kan?
No.
Tak gelap
Macam
lagi.
lagi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but a deep dive, usually we go up to 30 meters. A deep dive specialization, which is a whole different certification on its own, gives you depth up to 40 meters.
40.
Yeah.
Dah gelap lah tu.
Tak gelap
Tak
lagi.
gelap
Tak lagi. Actually, so gelap tak gelap, actually it depends on the visibility of the area that you're actually diving in.
Oh.
Right, okay. So-
No, even if it's not dark pun, like the
Once you
amount-
go deep enough,
the amount of light that is available is very.
So you lose a lot of color.
Oh,
You lose a lot of color. So everything
man,
seems very
that's-
blue down there.
that's scary, man.
But you actually so how light penetrates, right? It depends on the condition of
Density.
the water.
Oh.
Yeah. So I give you the best example is, if you go to a murky water, you go, even if it's just 2 meters or 3 meters, right?
you can't see
You
shit.
cannot see shit, right? It's not going to be light under there because it's so murky that the light just cannot penetrate.
Yeah.
But you go to the like open water at certain
Boracay.
Boracay is actually not. I've gone there. It's not as clear underwater as you think. Like, but places like the Maldives, right?
Okay.
So places like the Maldives, I have experienced Maldives where you can actually see 40 meters deep and it looks
The same.
perfectly clear.
Oh.
Yeah. But I've also experienced Maldives on certain time of the year where I lose people even when they are just like 2 or 5 meters away from me. You cannot see. So it depends on the conditions of the water. So
Okay.
we use the term visibility in that sense, lah.
Have you ever encountered any, emergency situation or any?
I'm grateful that I have not. I have had, being a scuba diving instructor, you have to assess a lot of situations. I have had panic divers before, but I've never had an experience, and I hope I never do have experience with, emergency situations. Yeah, so I have, I have a lot of close friends that have been in those situations before, and you hear the stories they tell and everything, and you hope you never. Number one is never hope something like that happens to somebody else, especially if it's a diver under your guidance, right? And you never want to go through that experience for yourself as well, Yeah.
How panic is panic actually?
So I've had a diver who's bolted to the surface from 20 meters. So that's one of the situations that
That's quite far, man.
yeah, that's quite far. So if you the thing about scuba diving is once the theory part of it explains more in terms of why you can actually bolt from the surface from the depth of from deep all the way up. It's not just the ear actually.
Oh.
It's actually a lot to do with your lungs.
Sorry.
Your
The
lungs,
pressure, right?
The pressure, yeah. So
Because you need to make sure that, I mean, this is what I understand. You need to make sure your body acclimatized to the environment, and then like there are certain level of pressure that you put on your body whenever you go for a diving.
Yeah. So I had one diver that he was doing his advanced course, and the thing is because he wasn't physically fit, right?
Okay.
I mean we have students that are not physically fit as well, but I think his condition was that he wasn't just he gets really tired really fast. So we were trying to descend. I think the part where he was actually trying to descend from the surface to 20 meters when we were actually doing that dive took a toll on him by the time we actually got to the 20 meters to the bottom. And at that time I had about I don't know why we had I think it was due to some arrangement, but I had 8 students with me doing that advanced
is
course.
considered a lot.
A lot, yeah. So, and this particular student, when by the time he got down, I think he was exasperating for air already by that time. So he's trying to reach me. And by the time I got to him, he actually started to bolt to the surface. So that was actually, it was quite scary. I mean, it's scary in sense that if anything happens, I'm the instructor in charge.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be taking care of these guys and everything. So and I don't take safety lightly lah. For me, safety is always priority.
Yeah, obviously.
It's not worth scuba diving, as fun as it is. It's not worth somebody's life lah.
I think any activity that involves water or any activities that basically not on land, you just have to make sure that safety is being considered first above anything else. Because at least we are human and we live on land, and then like whatever environment that we go in, let's say you go into water or you do a skydiving or anything.
It's not your element,
basically.
You gotta understand that it's not your element.
It's not the norm.
So the thing is that about scuba diving is the other thing that I think needs to be emphasized is that no matter how experienced you are, right, things can always go wrong. All right. So it's always look at what can go wrong. All right. Prep yourself.
The Murphy's Law. Have you guys ever heard of the Murphy's Law?
No.
What can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the thing is always think about what can go wrong. All right. And be prepared. Don't be too overconfident lah. And this is the problem with scuba instructors as well, right? Especially like when you see a scuba instructor diving with other scuba diving instructor, and then you see a lot of shit happening down there. Right? But we don't do it in front of students, right? So the thing is that no matter how experienced you are, things can always go wrong lah. That's
do you log your dives? Is it required for you to log? Like let's say I am a certified diving.
I think they log by jumps, by dives.
So that's why I asked, like, are you required to log your dives?
So we are not required. At instructor level, I've actually stopped. I stopped recording my dives, but I think it's more because you rely on technology. So nowadays, we have dive computers that actually log your dives for you. So we rely more on our dive computer to do all that, right?
So like Garmin.
Garmin actually has a dive computer as well. So, for those that just started diving without a dive computer, we actually do manual dive logs.
I see.
Where they record.
Like for you to be a instructor, do you need to like record a certain number of dives? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I cannot remember for sure dive instructors per se, but from I think from advanced to rescue to dive master to dive instructor, there are different requirements.
Oh, okay. All right.
Wow.
I'm a bit mind blown in terms of when you say that there is a dive computer, like because like when we cycle we have a cycle computer.
Yep.
So that's how we sort of like track the mileage and also the hours that we are on our bike.
Yeah.
So now I guess it's the same for
So the dive computer works really about the same, right? So when we dive, a dive computer actually tracks how long we can stay at a certain depth before you actually go into what we call a decompression dive. So a decompression dive, this is going to be a bit more technical, but those the function of a dive computer, it actually tells you how long you can stay at a certain depth. It tells you what depth you are at, how long has that dive been, what's the temperature of the water.
So is it measured by your capabilities, or it's just the same for everyone?
No, it's the same for everyone because I think the algorithm works the same. Now, but the difference is that if you were to use a dive computer, I should not be relying on your dive computer because you might have stayed at a certain depth for, even though it might be 1 or 2 meters difference, but in terms of time, alright, and how it impacts the body, it actually makes a lot of difference. So every diver should have their own either number one dive plan if you don't have a dive computer, or you should have everyone should be using their own dive computer by right.
I see.
Yeah. So the other safer approach when it comes to dive, what dive guides normally do is the dive guides are usually slightly lower than the other divers.
Dive guide. So that you set a benchmark.
Let's say you have like on the boat today, the group is like 5 people. You are the instructor. Then you have another dive guide. So that dive guide will go, let's say 20 meter, and then those people would only stay at 15 or
not that far. You'll be surprised. 5 meters is quite far. So they'll probably be at like 18 meters.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
They ask,
so you will be with the student.
Yeah.
Whereas the dive guide would sort of like macam penanda aras lah.
So usually if you have a dive guide, normally these are for certified divers that are already certified, so they don't need an instructor. So say once you have actually got yourself certified, you can actually go and look for a dive guide, which also is called a dive master. Alright, and they actually lead you on that dive.
Are you a dive master?
Yeah, so I have to become a dive master before I become a dive instructor.
I see. Okay.
So do you wear Omega?
No, I don't.
Why Omega?
Omega is known for the first watch that can go deep down.
Oh, is it?
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I have another question though before you go on a break. Have you watched Titanic?
Yeah.
So you remember when the part where Jack and Rose they went down together with the ship? So do you think
it makes sense?
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
they go so fast, man.
So fast. So how
they
fast?
enter the water?
Yeah.
Like in a very fast.
It's like
speed,
bolted down, like instead of bolted up.
and then they went up back and then stay on the papan.
So actually, how fast you actually go down and go up? It's hard to say whether it's real or not because it actually depends a lot on your body's density.
Yeah.
Whether you actually are holding in any air, if you're not holding any air, and so on. But I mean, Hollywood shows are always accurate, right? So yeah. So but yeah. So that's I think if you were to watch any shows that has diving elements in it,
just take 1 out of 10.
All the scuba diving instructor will be like, oh, that's crap. It's not true.
View it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Before we continue, maybe we can go for a break. Just a quick one, just to remind people to buy our merch and to subscribe to Patreon.
Hey man, guys, support this guys.
Kepada pendengar-pendengar dan penonton-penonton Cerita Abang Adik Show, jangan lupa untuk membeli cawan Abang Adik Show. Cawan ini dibuat khas daripada negara China. Jadi, jangan lupa untuk membeli. Sila tekan klik link di bawah untuk mendapatkan cawan Abang Adik Show. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Today we have a special guest. He's a certified diving instructor by PADI, not SSI, not SDI.
Don't discount that, guys. SSI, SDI instructors are just as good.
So I think today we have been speaking a lot in terms of your experience, and you have been sharing us with a lot of insights, basically from the diving sort of like industry, quote unquote. Perhaps I think what we really want to know is like, can you really make a living out of as a diving instructor, or from the context of Malaysia?
In the context of Malaysia, definitely you can make a living, but I think everyone needs to be clear, alright, in terms of setting your expectations right. Yeah. So I think depends on the level of lifestyle that you're looking for, right? If you think that you want to become a dive instructor,
and you wanna buy 2 Omegas,
and you want to buy 2 Omegas, alright, and you want to buy a BMW, and you want to own a bungalow house, alright. People say never, but it's
kind of steep, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of steep. Yeah. Alright.
So a few information that I found in the internet, like I mean this is in the US. They say like on average you can earn annually around 30,000 USD. That's average. The highest that they can get is like up to 100,000. So perhaps you can put it into context in Malaysia, like is it like a fairy tale number or
I don't think that's a fairy tale number actually. So I think depending on, so I think because in scuba diving, if you're a scuba diving instructor, if you are freelancing, alright, that's you're gonna have to go and find your students yourself.
manage your clientele?
Yeah, exactly, and then how you upsell and so on to get your students to the next level and so on. So that's one of the things that you need to do. So the bigger the clientele you have, chances is there's much more money that you can earn, right? But from my experience, I think it all depends on how you sell yourself. All right. Now I'm really bad at that. All right. I don't market myself on social media. All right. And I think this is some of the key differences that based on my observation of some of my peers who are really successful even as a freelancer, and they do well. They do a decent. They make a decent living out of it. I also have friends who actually attach themselves to dive centers, and also they are doing quite decently. So again, the question of whether you can make a living out of scuba diving,
yes, the answer is yes.
The answer is yes, but you just have to manage your expectations of what type of living that you are expecting, right? Yeah. So I think, and this I think varies, right? So I think going back to how much, when you're trying to put a value on it, number one, of course, it goes in terms of how much visibility you have in the market and so on. But the other thing is also that the different levels of instructors also make different money, right? So someone who like me, who is just an open water scuba diving instructor, there's a limit to what I can teach.
I see.
Yeah.
So for you, let's say you have a corporation who's serving one of the biggest oil company in the world, and then like they are doing like recruitment for new divers to join them. Then with the license that you have right now, are you able to go and okay?
No. So commercial scuba diving actually has a whole entire course on its own. All right. Now the reason being is because again, as I mentioned to you, a recreational scuba diver, the maximum that you can go is probably 40 meters. All right. There's other parts to it where if you are they call it a technical diver, where you actually are using different composition of air to breathe, or you mix helium and so on, then you actually are able to go deeper. But that's a whole different thing. But
really, helium?
Yeah. But commercial divers actually, the average depth that they go in is much deeper compared to a recreational scuba diver.
Because it's not just about this is what I understand. Like we heard, like for example, if you watch Hollywood movies, like those deep dives, they go do helium. They go do
welding.
They do welding and whatnot. But the more common things that people do is actually they wash the
they scrub the bow.
They scrub the
bow
and everything.
Yeah, so scrubbing the bow is something that I mean a lot of other professional scuba diving, recreational scuba diving instructors probably do as well. Right?
Oh, okay.
Because they do
as part time.
Yeah, as part time and so on. I do know some people, some of my friends in Terengganu that does that as well. But going back to if you're actually looking for a commercial job in, say for example, the oil and gas industry, you actually have to go for a whole entire course for it. Actually, it's a whole different thing. It's there's a lot of more things that they teach, which I'm not aware. I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure there's a lot more technical stuff. I think it depends on what type of work that they're actually going to put you in. So they teach you all those different skills, tools, and so on. What about when they actually have to use chambers and so on, which is not actually part of recreational scuba diving lah.
I see. So if we put your journey as a scuba diving instructor into perspective, perhaps you can elaborate to us in terms of what are the biggest achievement and biggest challenges that you have faced so far.
So I think biggest achievement as a scuba diving instructor.
No, because achievement, it's subjective to people, right?
Yeah.
It can be like, let's say today I went on to teach my son how to kick a ball. It might be an achievement for me, but it might not be to some people. So perhaps from your own perspective, what is the achievement that you have attained?
I think achievements, the biggest achievement for me is probably being able to share the experience. What is it that you're so passionate about, right? That you actually took this up and so on, and sharing it with others, and actually being able to teach even some of my own friends.
Yeah.
I was able to actually teach my older sister how to scuba dive and so on. So those are probably some of my biggest achievement. I think sharing those that passion.
Yeah.
And building that or not say I wouldn't say building, but showing people what they can do when they actually have doubts. I have had students who that couldn't swim, right?
Okay.
And he couldn't swim, but recently he actually certified himself as a rescue diver already.
Oh.
So those are the type of things that you
so
know.
what does a rescue driver rescue diver do? Like
9 degree.
like do they wait for calls then only they arrive? Or
So I was just about to say it's not 999. Okay, so it's you're not gonna get those stars at rescue diver. So rescue diver in the course that we teach basically allows you to learn how to assist distressed divers, whether it's at the surface or underwater.
I see.
Right? So they are actually trained with the skills to assist other divers in the event of emergency. And also, it actually builds a lot more confidence of becoming a more independent diver in that sense, right? Yeah,
Okay.
it actually builds a lot of confidence.
basically they know what to do if
Yeah.
then it's
So those are the things that I think I would say that some of my biggest achievements. I've not been in the industry that long. I think I've only been a scuba diving instructor. I think only entering about my 5th or 6th year. But if you talk, if you follow the journey of your divers, those are actually some of the more fulfilling things that you see. I have another scuba diver who is actually who was my student during open water diving. But he has become way more advanced than me. He's not a scuba diving instructor, but he actually explored certain areas of scuba diving that I
Even yourself have not tried.
Even I have not tried. So he's become a technical diver, and he's now that he's a technical diver, when I see his posts on social media, I can see that he's diving with some renowned people within the diving industry in Malaysia and so on.
That must make you feel very proud.
Yeah, I mean that's because you know that you had some part along the way in terms of his development to where he is, right? So so I think that's some of the achievements that I think I feel it's very satisfying. So this goes, I think, when it comes to scuba diving, the achievements are not going to be very monetary.
Understand.
So the satisfaction comes from a lot of different things. Yeah.
That's why I say it's achievement can be very subjective to each different people.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Have you tried diving from a helicopter though?
No, I've seen that video, right? So where the guy actually dives, he skydives from a helicopter and then goes into the sea, and then he switches to the scuba gear, and then he scuba dives. So no, I've not dived from it. I would love to try it.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable though, because it's. I mean, speaking in military terms, military context, it's something that maybe you ought to explore.
Yeah. I think if with my belly, right? So I think the military will reject me instantly. But it's definitely something that I've seen it on social media. I think it would be great to try. I think skydiving is another thing that I have not tried that I want to try. So combining those two things together, why not?
Scuba diving is another. It costs you a lot of money though.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
Actually, right, like all this diving activity, the only thing that came to my head whenever we talk about diving is always scuba diving or snorkeling lah. Then recently I watched a documentary about the Thai cave rescue.
The Thai cave.
Man, that was different shit, you know. Like they had like military trained scuba divers went into the cave. Unfortunately, one of them passed away, and then they had to invite people from all the world. And then apparently there is a different subcategory that is like cave diving.
Yeah,
and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. So those skills, I mean, not I own skills, but those are the things that you can explore after your open water diving. So open water diver, the first certification allows you to actually become to get certified as a diver first, and then the second part, which I mentioned earlier on, was the adventure diving. It allows you to actually try a lot of the different type of dives. You're not going to be certified as a cave diver specifically in this certification, but once you become a certified adventure diver, you can opt to actually be certified in certain specialized diving, right?
Yeah.
So wreck diving, a lot of people might think that diving a wreck is just as simple as looking at the wreck, but it's actually a whole different thing. If you actually want to go into wreck diving properly, you might be able to penetrate certain wrecks where your safety is actually not compromised. Yeah, those are the type of skills that you would learn in your when you are certified as a specialized wreck diver, per se. Then you have cave diving. I think in certain parts of the world they have ice diving and so on. Yeah,
ice diving means that they go under the block of ice.
Yeah, I think it's I'm not sure. I might be using the wrong term. I don't think, maybe it's not called ice diving. I think it's called
cold water.
No, it's not even called cold water. I think so. They have altitude diving. I know that's a specialty.
Right? What's altitude diving?
Altitude diving, where where certain countries they actually have lakes on the mountain
above sea level.
Yeah. So because of the pressure, it becomes a specialized diving on its own. Yeah. So I think the ice diving, the specialty, if I'm not mistaken, is called dry suit specialty.
Dry
suit is like a whole
CBD, complete different CBD.
It's a different equipment. Where you actually, in Malaysia, what you see normally is called a wetsuit, right? For ice diving or cold temperature diving, they wear a dry suit. Now, dry suit is actually it works a bit differently because it actually affects your buoyancy underwater as well.
I see. Okay.
Oh.
Information overload.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just tell us one of the biggest challenge so far.
No. Before that, just go for the challenge. Go for the challenge.
So I think biggest challenge in scuba diving is
maybe
there's no challenge.
the activity itself is a challenge.
Yeah, I think when you become as a scuba instructor, the challenge, or one of the challenges, is always to keep yourself motivated, right? And I think it applies to a lot of different professions in the world as well. Keeping yourself motivated, exploring new things, and so on. I think managing customers' expectation is actually quite one of the biggest challenge that I have. Managing disappointments are also some of the things that you have to design. Because I've also had customers that they've signed up with you and so on.
Okay.
But they don't follow through, and in the end they
I
opt
see.
to go for another instructor.
Yep.
So those are some of the biggest challenge in terms of I think maintaining your customer base, trying to make everyone happy.
So does it like so obviously you are providing lesson to your clients. Does it end once they get the license, or
Open water, yeah.
do they have like other things that they can do with you?
Of course, there's once they actually become a certified diver, open water diver, they can they can go for dive trips with you.
Okay.
But it's just that you have to be aware of your diver's certification levels.
I see.
Because depending on where the dive site that you want to go to, you need to know whether your divers are experienced enough for that type of dive site. The challenges that dive site actually provides to the divers. So some dive sites might have extremely strong currents. They not all divers might be fit for the side diving.
Is it true that the water current below the sea and on the surface is different? Like, you can get this.
Yep. So the water current. I think
maybe you can share how water current works.
I can't. I'm so bad at that. I'm so bad at all this. That part of scuba diving. Honestly, I'm actually quite bad. But I can tell you, yes, the currents, surface currents and underwater currents can be very different actually. So especially when you dive in the open sea, right? Where when you're going for deep diving. So for example, when I was in Maldives and when I was in Raja Ampat, there's always a diver, one of the dive guides that are familiar with those areas. They usually go in to do a current check first. So they free dive.
Okay.
And they will actually be able to
guesstimate,
estimate, right, the how strong those currents are, so they can actually advise the boatman where the drop off points should be. All right. And the other thing also the other thing is also to assess whether the current would it pose any dangers to the divers itself, right? So I have dived in some really, really strong currents.
Scary.
So currents also work based on the tide, right?
Yeah.
On the time of the day and everything. So I've actually experienced going in underwater with some of my friends who were all scuba diving instructors, by the way. So like I said, when scuba diving instructors come together, they do stupid shit.
All kind of shit happens.
Yeah. So it was a new. I've never dived that place before, so it was my first dive, and we've because of some logistic arrangements, we were passed beyond the I would say like the right time to dive, right? So we decided like, oh, you know what? Never mind. Let's just go, right? So when we dived in, the current the currents was moving. The tide was actually moving. And the currents were just ridiculous. So me trying to get to the bottom, and the current was just kept on pushing me up all the way back to the surface.
I see.
It was that strong. And that dive specifically, I actually ran out of air underwater. So I actually had to share air with another one of my friends.
How do you do that? You just take his...
So the equipment that we have... you have your primary
oxygen.
Yeah, oxygen, right? We call it a regulator, right?
Okay.
So you have your primary air source, and then you have an alternate air source. The alternate air source actually allows you to switch if your primary isn't functioning properly.
Okay.
Then you can swap to your alternate, or in the end, like my case where I actually ran out of air, then I actually had to borrow. So this is something that by scuba diving standards should never happen.
So is there any common hand sign for all
this one I
scuba
want to
divers?
share. I learned this also. Like in scuba diving.
Or is it you communicate using maybe
no,
wireless?
You use your hand. So when you go in, if you want to say that you are okay, you cannot do this.
Yeah.
Because if you do this, it indicates that you want to go up.
Yeah.
You have to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say you want to go down, then you do this.
So
If tak ada oxygen, what do you do?
For all the listeners, what Thauban just did was showing thumbs up, and that indicates you want to go up.
Yep.
But if you want to indicate that you're okay, then you do the
okay sign.
Okay sign.
sign.
Three. The
three finger go up.
Two
finger do circle. Like that only.
If you want to go down, you indicate a thumbs down, and then if you want to indicate
no oxygen.
No oxygen.
No oxygen.
No oxygen is the most common sign in the world.
You slit your throat.
Slit your throat.
Slit your throat using your hand. Like this. Don't slit your throat.
What else? What else other than those that were shown by Thauban?
What else? So you have slow down if you're too fast.
Slow down. So he indicates that you're as if you're petting. Petting a dog or a baby.
Or if you turn your hand the other way around, you're asking them to come closer to you.
Okay.
Right. So putting your two index fingers together stands for buddy up, meaning where's your buddy?
Pair up.
Because in scuba diving you never dive alone, right?
Okay.
You always
unless you're James Bond.
Unless you're James Bond. Again, Hollywood is always real. So in scuba diving, or at least in recreational scuba diving, you never dive alone. All right. You always buddy up. You can buddy up in a pair, or if it's odd numbers, then usually you buddy up in 3 people as well. That's fine. Yeah.
So if our listener and our viewer out there, they are interested in doing a scuba diving, what is the one advice that you would like to give to them? If they are new and they want to try the thing.
So I think if you do not have experience scuba diving before, there's this thing called discovery scuba diving. All right.
Okay.
Where you are the dive guide, or for discovery scuba diving, a dive guide can take you. All right. Where they actually allow you to sort of like test the waters and see your comfort level underwater and so on. All right. That is the best recommendation, that if you want to do a scuba dive course, before you do it, go and try out discover scuba diving.
What would they do in that discovery dive?
So for discovery scuba diving, you learn the first module of an open water scuba diving. So the most basic skill that you need to scuba dive, right?
Okay.
So and then in a discovery scuba diving, so it depends. You can do a discovery scuba diving in a pool.
Okay.
Right. So I'm actually city based scuba diving instructor. So most of the time I do DSDs in pool. We call it DSDs. But if you're on the island, you can also explore discovery scuba diving. You can
shallow water.
Yeah, shallow water where you don't go too deep, but see how you feel about it, right?
Deep enough to submerge your body, lah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, deep enough for you to submerge body. You can explore around a little bit and see how comfortable you are.
So let's say if I just wanna have a photo underwater with a scuba suit. So I'll just sign up the DSD.
Yeah, exactly. You sign up the DSD and then you get another certified photographer to actually come down with you.
So I have to get a certified photographer who's certified scuba diver.
Oh, if you want to get a real cool picture, unless if you want to just GoPro yourself, that's fine.
Okay. So
then the next question is, let's say if the new or our viewer wanted to explore this recreational activity that you just talked to us about, how much do you think the startup costs for them to incur? Okay.
So my advice for
do they need to get their own suit or
no? Don't spend on any money yet. All right, when you are just about to start off your open water diving course, because you might do it and realize that it's not something that you enjoy to the moon. That you're going to do it every weekend like what I used to do, right? Then you might find that just using rental equipment is fine. Right? So I have a lot of experienced scuba divers who also don't have their own equipment, and to me, I'm not going to judge you as long as you're comfortable and use whatever you are comfortable with, right? So the startup cost will be the cost of you earning that certification.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to pay for the cost. And if the accommodation and so on to the island is not part of that cost, then that's what you're going to have to incur. So you're looking at in Malaysia, I think being on the high side, you're looking at about 2,000
Okay.
All right. I think that's on
not bad.
that's on the high side. You're looking at 2,000.
At least not as expensive as skydiving.
Yeah. So the good news is in Malaysia is a lot of places you can get it for like 1,004, 1,005, which also includes accommodation,
food,
and so on. A full board.
But it's not a 5-star hotel, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but if you're willing to pay a bit more for comfort and so on, which then which I always recommend. All right, because scuba diving can be expensive. Everyone needs to be clear about that. Scuba diving can be expensive. So if you're willing to pay a little bit more, then pay it, because you wanna be comfortable. You wanna be well rested for your dives. Yeah.
Okay. So perhaps I think we're almost at the tail end of our show.
Yeah.
Then perhaps we have one customary question that we always ask our guests, like, what is the one question that you wish or you thought that we would ask you, and how would you answer that question?
I would have thought that you guys would ask about my current job other than scuba diving, but that didn't come up.
So that we would need another episode to talk about that.
Yeah. So but just to clarify, so in case anyone was wondering, any of the listeners was wondering, so I was in scuba diving full time. All right. When I actually was working as a professional accountant, like what Abang mentioned, Along mentioned, right? But then, so when I left, in between, I actually became a full-time scuba diving instructor for a good 2 years, and then I actually, went back to work, but still teaching scuba diving on the side.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so thank you, Anas.
Thank you very much.
It's been very insightful. I think our viewer and our listener can attest to that. This has been a very fruitful session. I think
my mind was blown deep down water.
No, like, to be honest, I don't really I'm not really keen on getting into scuba diving, but after listening to what you have said, it's actually quite interesting, because the misconception that we always had about scuba diving is that if you don't have money, then you can't do it. I think as long as you manage, like if you really can't, like you said, if you don't mind having not that good accommodation or anything, you can just incur lesser cost.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because back when I was still a student, when I used to go to the island to scuba dive, I had a little bit of money just to pay for that my dives and the food, and I usually sleep on the hammock at the island. Yeah. So I used to pack a hammock and and I will just bathe in the in the toilet.
Jadi kepada anda semua, jika anda berminat untuk menceburi bidang scuba diving ini, anda boleh contact Anas di Instagram.
Kami akan letakkan link di bawah.
Alias Anas Azmi, dan kami akan letak link di bawah. Dan like what we have mentioned earlier, you don't have to incur like extravagant amount of money, as long as you can manage your own expectation. So with that, again, thank you very much, Anas.
We just want to say thank you for and hope to see you again.
All right, thanks guys for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Cheers.
Take care.